Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Sketchy here, and I am bringing you a new video that I've never done before. It's going to be a rundown of the Season 1 results of Pro League, the Call of Duty World League, and first of all, I'm going to go over the regular season finishes and placements, my thoughts on those. So, Rise Nation winning, or not winning, but having the best record in Pro League. It wasn't expected at the start of Pro League, but the more we got into Pro League, it was pretty clear that they were the dominant team. Optic in second. That's always expected for Optic to be up there, and really the fact that they got in second was kind of a surprise, especially when they came in and beat TK, but then TK underperformed, and you kind of saw TK wasn't as good as everybody had thought they were, based off of their 2 tournament wins. Yeah, so those 4 teams, Rise, Optic, Red, and TK, make it out of Pro League, or make it out of regular season into the playoffs. On the other hand, you have FaZe, which nobody expected to do as well as they did. Everybody expected them to make playoffs, but not to become first in the division. Everybody thought LG and E United would be first and second in that division. E United obviously started off slow, ended up picking it up near the end. EnVy, that was kind of expected. They were a good team, but you didn't expect them to be first or second, which they ended up third. So the fact that they started off 6-0 and then dropped down to being 8-6, you can see that they kind of fell off. And I think that third place is kind of where everybody expected them to be originally, just not in the fashion that they did it in. But anyways, so that's your regular season results. You know, the 8 teams that are at the top 4 in the divisions made it into the playoffs. So we're going to go ahead and get into the playoff brackets. So Rise versus EU, the first match of the entire tournament. E United 3-0'd Rise, which nobody expected because lately E United hasn't been performing. You know, they lost that tournament in Canada to a non-pro team. Well, it was GGA Orange, which isn't a pro team, but they're good enough to be a pro team. And then they 3-0 Rise, and they 3-0'd Rise at Birmingham. So it seems like E United is kind of Rise's kryptonite, which is insane because E United just haven't had the hot hand lately. Then you go into LG versus Red. LG almost lose that match, and it was very surprising. They went down 2-0 to Red and almost got 3-0'd. Ended up clutching up and reverse sweeping Red. And then you move over to Optic versus EnVy, clean and cut. You knew Optic was going to beat EnVy. The way EnVy have been performing has not been very good. Just not the way that they're expected as a team to perform. And I think that's mainly because of Temp. I don't think he's a very good player. And he's also just very toxic. And Slasher is also might be a good player, but he's also toxic. So it just seems like the communication on that team is off. FaZe versus TK. This was surprising, this winner's bracket match, because I really thought that FaZe would beat TK very easily, and they ended up falling short, getting 3-1 by TK. So it moves on into the second round of the winner's bracket, and because E United had beaten Rise, everybody expected them to come in and have a great tournament and kind of try and beat LG. It wasn't close, 3-1. It was very convincing. LG just dominated E United. And then Optic beating TK, and that was expected. I mean, Optic have just been playing lights out. Birmingham, they played really well, and now beating EnVy in the fashion that they did, playing really well. They 3-0 TK, and it was expected because TK have been underperforming. So TK going to the loser's bracket. Then the winner's bracket finals, LG versus Optic. That was a close match, and you know, I think it was 3-1, but all of the maps were close, and that just kind of demoralized LG and kind of sent them down into the loser's bracket with kind of like a bad feeling in their mouth, bad taste in their mouth. So I think it really ruined LG's tournament run, especially after beating Red and E United, which are 2 very good teams. And then they just completely, I guess they didn't choke it, but they lost a close series. But moving on to the losers bracket. We're going to go over here. Rise, and Red. Rise lost both of their matches this weekend to two teams that they should have easily beaten. I think I think Red was third in their division, and United was obviously fourth in their division. And United easily could have fallen into relegation for their division. So, because their division was very close, a lot closer than Division A. So, they lost to two teams and they got knocked out of the tournament. EnVy versus FaZe, that match was a lot closer than I expected, and FaZe won a lot of 3-2s this weekend. 3-2, 3-2, 3-2 to LG, and both series went 3-2 in favor of FaZe in the finals. But anyways, FaZe got knocked into the losers bracket in the first round and ended up winning. So losers bracket runs are possible. They're a lot harder. There's a lot more matches to be played, 4 matches, whereas Optic only had to play 3, and then you have to win 2 series in the end, so you have to win 5 series in total just to win the tournament, whereas Optic had to win 3. So, anyways, moving on. United beat FaZe. On the maps that FaZe won, they were very convincing wins. On the maps that United won, they were close. United barely won them. So, knowing that, it wasn't as close as a 3-2 victory sounds. And it was kind of expected the way United have been playing, especially after getting sent to the losers bracket. Because after that first round of the losers bracket, where all 4 of these teams lost their first round, so they're all kind of like down. You know what I mean? After that, it seems like the team that won and moved on in the losers bracket usually wins, not always, but it seems like people that get knocked out of the winners bracket end up going straight to the losers bracket and losing to teams that have been winning in the losers bracket, mainly because of emotions. So yeah, TK3O's Red. That was a surprise. I think that Red is a better team than TK, but TK came out hot, ended up winning. Then FaZe versus TK. Now, obviously, FaZe lost to TK earlier in the tournament, and now TK gets 3-0'd by FaZe. I'm not sure why that is. Obviously, I think it was because FaZe was playing amazing. Priesta was playing amazing. FaZe ends up 3-0'ing them, and it was expected for TK to follow the tournament way earlier, so I think that they performed pretty well considering how they've been performing lately. FaZe goes into the finals, and I think this is where LG fall apart because those close matches they lost to Optic. Getting defeated like that is heartbreaking, and FaZe is coming off of 3 wins recently, so I think FaZe just had the hot hand. I think those teams are pretty evenly matched, but FaZe won that because of their hot hand and them winning matches. We go into the finals. Optic chokes 2 very easily winnable maps. The first match, 242 to 175, and Optic chokes that and loses 250 to 242. Then they go into the search and destroy, and they're winning 5-3. And FaZe comes back and it's 5-5, and then Optic kill 3 players on the FaZe team, and they're in a 3v1. And then Artillery Barrage is back down, placed behind the docks building, and nobody on the Optic team expected Attach to run into the back of docks building, and he did, and he got a 2-piece, and then ended up winning the 1v1 against Crim6 to clutch the map. So they went down 2-0 in the first series. Optic did. They were losing 2-0. They regained, won the CTF 5-1, then ended up winning the hard point pretty convincingly. I think it was like 250 to 100. It was not a close hard point. And then they go into the the map 5 search, and they lost 6-4 in round 10. Then you go into the second series. Second series was back and forth. Optic won the first map, and then they go into the second map, and they lose that search and destroy. And that was kind of the kryptonite of Optic, the search and destroys, because I don't think they won any of the... Oh, wait. They won the... Did they win the... Yeah, they didn't win any of their search and destroys. So, that was the kryptonite of Optic in this final series. But then you go into the CTF. Again, they win 5-1. And Optic goes up 2-1 in the series. So in both series, if they might have won those search and destroys, they could have won them, those first search and destroys. They were the closer ones. But they couldn't clutch them out. And they both go to map 5 search and destroy. And Optic chokes again on Valkyrie hardpoint. I think Optic was up 222 to 198, and FaZe ended up winning that map of hardpoint. They go into the map 5 search and destroy and lose 6-3 in Ardennes Forest, and I think Optic was playing kind of scared and slow, and that's why they lost. So they need to work on their search and destroy. Obviously, FaZe won their first tournament in 3 years. Optic still hasn't won a tournament this year, but they do get their best placing at second. So if we go up to the placings, so this is not what I expected. I expected TK to be down here and Rise to be up a little bit higher. Obviously, Rise underperformed, and I think that's because TJ Halley and Methodz. Oh, sorry, hiccup. TJ Halley and Methodz had a bad tournament, and Looney kind of had to step up, but Looney just couldn't step up enough, and they got knocked out of the tournament. That's just how it happened. And anyways, moving on. So EnVy, that was expected. I think everybody expected them to be that far down. I think everybody expected them to get 7th to 8th just because of the way they've been playing. Slasher has left the team now. Everybody expected Slasher to leave just because he's the best player by far. He said that their team was terrible communication-wise, and I guess you could tell. I mean, Temp being as toxic as he is, and Huke, when he gets in the zone, he just kind of gets quiet from what former teammates have said. So it was expected. FaZe winning the tournament was not expected. FaZe getting 4th, 5th, or 6th was pretty much where everybody thought that they would lie. And Red Reserve, I think that was expected of them. And TK, I think, performed better than they usually do at this tournament. And I would say LG, I think they underperformed. I think LG could have won this tournament. It just seems like John and Slacked fell short as their sub players. It didn't seem like they were having the best of games. So anyways, that's the tournament results. So we're going to move on to Roster Mania. So in Roster Mania, pretty much what's happened so far is Rise Nation has dropped Methodz, and Red Reserve has dropped Rated, and EnVy has dropped Slasher. So 3 AR players have been dropped, and I think that Slasher left, and I think Slasher leaving was a good move for him. Red Reserve dropping Rated, and Rise Nation dropping Methodz. 2 very bad moves because in the overhaul that is happening sometime this week, the game is completely changing and ARs are going to become extremely OP. You can look up information about that. Also, that's happened recently with Roster Mania. Gone Gaming has released Mosh, which isn't that important because they're not a very good team. And Unilad, who have been performing much better lately, and they ended up 7-7 in Pro League. They could have, if they had, just because of map count, they lost out their spot in the playoffs to E United. But Unilad was definitely improving, definitely very much improving. I mean, they could beat top teams, and they ended up dropping Moose. So I think those were bad moves for teams to be dropping players right now, because I think everybody's waiting till, I think the rest of the teams are waiting until the overhaul happens to drop people, because the game is about to completely change. It's going to be completely different. I think ARs are about to get a massive buff, not directly, but based on what's happening to the divisions, they're about to be a lot better. So anyways, that's all I have to say. Roster Mania, everything else, it's about to happen, and I'm going to make a video on that when it does. But I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you did, leave a like. If you didn't, just refresh it, give it another chance. And as always, guys, this is your boy Sketchy. Much love. Peace out.